to say, we moved from Colorado, and the school district we were in, in the school district we were in, we had something similar to the 4510. And just addressing the family thing, when we first started doing it, it was a little odd just to have that kind of fall break in addition to the spring break, but it actually turned out to be quite a good family time. You're able to do some things in that time that's longer now, like maybe if your kids are visiting colleges, or you do vacation, then the weather's still good. There's still, the things are less crowded that you go to. You can go visit family, which we've done. So it isn't all bad that way. We got used to it and actually kind of look forward to that fall break. So just wanted to point it out. And it isn't that big, the 4510. It squeezes the summer down a little bit, but it's not horrible. There's still a good chunk of time in there, it seems like, that it's okay. Now, as far as the costs and all that, I don't know, but I just wanted to give my perspective from someone who's kind of lived a similar schedule to that.
And just so you know, with the traditional 4510, the change in summer break is from 11 weeks to 8 weeks. And the lady from Red.
Just, you mentioned July being free, but you mentioned summer camps and student athletes and so forth. A lot of high school athletes visit college camps as an opportunity to expose themselves for recruiting and so forth. And a chunk of July is typically dead period, where those colleges cannot offer camps. So that's one thing to keep in mind as well.
I always loved that week.
Yes.
I thought that week was wonderful. Yes, you're right.
And then one other thing, you mentioned, are teachers getting additional income? Because I know teachers as well as students sometimes will supplement their income in the summer, and it's hard to get a job just for a couple weeks versus a couple months.
My understanding right now, and it's just very basic understanding, if teachers worked during those intersessions, if you go with the 4510, it's the same number of days as what they're on in the traditional calendar, and I would not see a change in their pay. But if they worked during remediation and enrichment periods, that would be additional income. So with that supplement, there are a lot of teachers who work there. I know there's a lot of teachers who work during the school year. You know, again, it would be 11 weeks versus 8 weeks. And that's obviously one of the issues, yeah.
I had a question about, have areas been identified that could be cut from the budget to make room for the additional cost of all the things that the gentleman talked about earlier? And teacher pay.
So what you have areas been identified where we would cut from the budget to make room for the additional cost. Not that I know of, and frankly, if that's what we're going to be looking at, I'm not too much in favor of it. Other than summer school. That's the only one I've heard would be a transition of funds too. And that's part of whether it's budget neutral or an increase in budget. I'm pretty darn sure it's not going to be a savings in budget. And there's somebody else.
Yes, ma'am. I don't want to beat a dead horse here, but a lot of the schools that we're seeing around us that do this, Oak Ridge being the largest, just over 5,000 students. Knox County has almost 60,000 students, so that's quite a disparity. And I think what I'm hearing from people that I've run in circles with, and some of my concerns, obviously our budget, which I know has been shared by a few others. There's a school system in North Carolina that's roughly comparable to us, right around Roanoke area. They have about 160 schools. Only 40 of them run a balanced calendar model. Part of that being because cost is a big issue for them. So if it's so wonderful and it's getting such great results, I want to know, I'm curious to know why the other 120 schools are not adopting that model. So that's one concern. The second concern, probably for older students, AP courses I know are a big deal. And I think, and please correct me if I'm wrong, but I think those test dates are mandated by the state. And so some of our, is that right? National mandates. Okay, good. So some of our AP, students are losing serious instructional time for those test dates. So, with childcare being an issue for our younger parents, which is a big concern as well, once you get to the older students, some of those AP classes become a concern. Sports as well, I've heard others echo. So I just thought I would throw that out there. Thank you for the opportunity.